You know I ain't come to play this TV. I'm snapping off the.
Well, well. You know, I never thought I would see the day when I would be doing this video. Like seriously, I just never thought I'd see the day where blissful ignorance prevails, and it's flabbergasting to me, and quite literally annoying because I mean, it's so easy to yell, I'm oppressed. I can't even say that. It's really easy to yell I'm oppressed. In a wide variety of different ways, and there's nothing. I'll say there's nothing inherently wrong with that. I'll say it like that first. For some, oppression is an actual thing. Is actual, status or show sign of consumption that many go through in their day-to-day lives of being oppressed by sex, gender, sexuality, race. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can get, oppressed for or by. But in recent weeks, we've had a bunch of white women come out and say the use of "okay, Karen" or Karen in general as a word to describe their middle-aged, self-entitled nagginess that irritates even the worst offend, even the best of memers, is somehow on the level of the N-word. And they said the same thing when it came to "okay, boomer." And you know what? I'm kind of here to put a bit of clarification on that, because you see, that makes no complete sense. And I just want, by the end of this video, I don't want you to be mad. I don't want you to be upset. I want you to formulate your own opinion, as I have today, and kind of break away from the pack, if you will. SJWs have a whole hive mindset, so break away from the pack, if you will, just for a second, just for give yourself enough time to actually think and process what I'm saying, and then imagine that it makes sense. Just humor me. All right, y'all already know the deal. I ain't gonna go through the whole stick. I'm just gonna jump right into it. The word Karen, often used, and let me pull up the Urban Dictionary version, is a mocking slang term for an entitled, obnoxious, middle-aged white woman, especially as featured in memes. Karen is generally stereotyped as having a blonde bob haircut, as can speak to retail or restaurant managers to voice complaints or make demands, being naggy, and often is depicted as a divorced mother from Gen X. So let me kind of unpack that just a little bit. So yes, it is a slang. It is a form of slang meant to pretty much stereotype an entire group of women, right? So before we go off into playing the Struggle Olympics, where everybody's now talking about who's more oppressed, because nobody wants to realize that oppression isn't a game. It's not something that should be won. It's not something that should be bouted over. It's something that should be talked about and discussed as people, so we do not make the same mistakes again. But no. With everything like this, as with everything else, it is a competition. For what reason, I will never know, and I could never solidly tell you, but it's always a competition. It's always a competition to see who is the most oppressed, who is the most hurt by something, someone, and it gets me sometimes. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna sit here on this glorious day and lie to you. It gets irritating sometimes, because not everything correlates with something else or has to be talked about in tandem. If I'm saying that 400 years of oppression as a black man does put a number on who I am and how I do things and how I conduct things and the constant racial tension and everything of that nature, why does it feel fitting for somebody to pop up with saying, well, there were other slaves in other countries too, and there's other people out here struggling too, and blah blah blah. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Why is that the first thing that pops up? And this is indicative of that, right? So you have this word, and I want to talk about two of them: boomer and Karen. Okay, boomer is what they thought would. I'm gonna just talk about both of those right there, and let's just be honest. Those two are really indicative of, well,
Sorry, I'm not sure how to help with that yet.
Yeah, Google, every time you say, okay, if anything, Google just pops up. But these two are indicative of pretty much mass amounts of society, especially in the, I can't even say Caucasian, because some actual people outside the Caucasian caucus, outside the Caucasian ethnicity, think that this is a racial term as well. So I can't really say that it's, just exclusively white people, with the dumb shit. But what I can say is that it is extremely dumb to compare this to the N-word. I know for a fact that this is a word that stereotypes a group of people. Whoop-de-doo. Like, do you want a cookie? And if you do you want chocolate chip oatmeal? Realistically, like, look at it in like a realistic term. And then I'm gonna break down, there's, boomer and Karen. But let's just look at Karen. It describes the typical middle-aged, working-class white mother who just likes to, things to be done a certain way. That's upheld to a certain stature in her life. Okay, so with that being the case, with that actually and actively being the case, that is how it is on the surface level. Yes, you can go into it and you can argue that, it doesn't make it right that somebody's using Karen in response to the, somebody calling the N-word or whatever. Is equally as, you can try to argue with me to say it's equally as derogatory as the latter, but it's really not. It's really not. That word literally is a contemptuous, and I'm gonna give you the definition of it. It is literally a contemptuous term for black or dark-skinned people. And contemptuous means, in lack of a better word, scornful. So it's a word that was meant to be scorned, meant to scorn us, to belittle us, to make it seem like we're less than. Yet Karen does the same thing. I don't really think so. It just highlights some stereotypes that already existed within the Caucasian community. I mean, everybody pokes fun at stereotypes. Let's just keep it 100. Everybody pokes fun at stereotypes, but nobody likes when their stereotypes are poked fun at. So you can't really realistically get mad. I'm not even gonna sit here and try to ascertain the insane notion that this is ever the equivalent of being called the hard R as a black man or a black woman. That's just, these two things do not correlate. Miss Karen, these things do not correlate. These things are not as they seem. Yes, I just generalized the whole group of people maybe by just saying, okay, Karen. Personally, I don't care. Like, when you sit there and try to argue saying that it is a form of sexism and racism, it just further proves that those two words are beginning and rapidly degrading in meaning, right? Because while I'll say yes, it is sexist because no white man is being called this, it's not racist at all. I mean, it's not even prejudiced on the offset. It's not even meant to be prejudice. It's meant to be a joke. I don't get where everything is coming from, and you just making yourself sound stupid. So the ideology here, and what I'm trying to get at, the ideology here is that Karen, quote unquote, is meant to be this sexist and racist term, equivalent to the N-word. A lot of people say the same thing about okay boomer, which is, just a term to call old people old. And Google did it again. It's just a term to basically call old people old, and I personally don't agree with that, but I do find it as a funny sentiment in which I utilize sometimes when I am talking to different people of my age group when they have a different opinion, just as a joke. Yes, I do use these two words frequently because I find them as jokes. I don't find them offensive at all, but if somebody does, I can't help but respect it. But when you break it down and look at the word boomer, it is literally a generation of people. Specifics, not 100%, but let me go ahead and get that information. Which, if I'm not believing, it's the 60s. It's like 60s, 70s, if I'm not mistaken. Well, it's 46 to 64. Okay. So it was basically post World War II. Right. So anybody born in between those, times are literally anywhere between 46, give or take anywhere between. Hold on here. So my mom was born in 64, so she's about like 56. About like 56, almost 57. So let me just give you like an age range here. So we got 2020 minus 1946. So the age range for boomer roughly is 74 to 64. I mean 64 to 54. 20 years age gap, right? I wouldn't even say that that's a negative term. It's just somebody calling you what you are in some cases. Now, sometimes you could get, again, you could argue with it. It could be hurtful to a person who just really trying to show their opinion and show their wisdom and a whole slew of other different things. But at the end of the day, it is literally just there to make a joke or to not be insufferable. That's all there is to it. It's literally just started off as a joke. These two words started off as a joke. Now, I don't know the classical nature of the hard R, but that is a word that was used to degrade African American people. You can't try to compare something that points out obvious stereotypes that in a comical way of Caucasian women to a word that was literally used for 400 plus years and still used today to degrade black people. It doesn't add up. It never will add up. And it's the same thing with the boomer phrase. You literally just described a generation of people who, fresh out of World War II, had a lot of children, hence the word baby boomer. And their ideologies are so far gone that they just refuse to change with the time. So yes, they're gonna get a label, and is labeling wrong? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie and say it's not, but it's just a label, still nowhere near as impactful as the hard R. How does one just sit down and they think about this? They sit down and come to this realization and say that Karen is a bad word. We should not say it. It is just as offensive as the Caucasian, as saying the hard R, and it's equivalent to, the boomer phrase. And I just do not get where everybody is just coming from with this fake outrage over such a simple phrase. And, well, two simple phrases. I mean, it's just nothing but a bunch of Caucasian women just mad because for the first time in their natural born lives that they're actually being targeted for some type of criticism or some form of stereotypes outside of just being dumb. Yes, when it comes straight down the middle, the most stereotypes that white women get are their annoying housewives that pop Vicodins all day just to deal with their children in the after school hours while their husbands go off and work at a law firm or whatever they do and cheat on them with the secretary. Yes, that it's something that is common knowledge, or even a common stereotype that's always being poked fun at, or that they're the dumb blonde or the sassy brunette that actually does everything. These are stereotypes that have been significant to Caucasian women, but this time using a phrase Karen to describe a group of entitled Caucasian women, I'm sorry, I just don't see the correlation. I don't see the problem here. I don't see it as somebody, this is something that's tearing you down as a person or should be deemed as sexist or any form of racist, because how is that affecting you as a person? How is that anywhere near prejudice? And if I'm wrong, I'm just wrong, but it's just my personal opinion. You should probably stop saying that wholeheartedly, because you make yourself look dumb. Because you, like, how just somebody explain how that word equivalates to the N-word, please. I just want somebody to if somebody can pen it, and I'll read the article, I'll have discussions on it, but I just can't understand where this is coming from. Why that a group of people, a group of women, a group of Caucasian women who have significantly been in any form of limelight or any sort of limelight and pretty much are in a power struggle with the straight white man, have a problem with being labeled something. You've literally labeled all men as pigs on multiple occasions, and yes, men do things that don't make sense or just is pretty shitty, but you literally generalize people and then don't want to be generalized yourself. I don't understand the concept here or the conflict. So at the end of the day, just don't compare it to saying somebody of an African American or black descent. Well, African descent or a black person, just compare that to their years of struggling with a word that was usually meant, initially meant to destroy them. Granted, they kind of took it and turned it into a positive, I guess, but still, it's not okay. It's really not, and I don't want this to pop on my radar again, not radar again, because I just don't. It's about as idiotic as saying that there's a such thing as reverse racism, when racism in and of itself has a definition that states that it is an act of prejudice or having a feeling of superiority of one race to another. Okay, reverse racism doesn't exist. Karen is not as bad as the hard R. Get over yourself, people. Stop with the fake outrage and get a life. You wouldn't be called a Karen if you actually went and got a life, smoked a blunt, popped a Vicodin, took 2-3 shots of vodka, shut the hell up, and enjoyed life for what it is. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. That's really it. That's it. And as far as boomers, hush, just hush. Y'all are, y'all veterans, okay? Veterans in the game of life. Y'all have been around the block a couple times and, did some things. You're just trying to show everybody what you've learned. But the problem is we want to learn for ourselves. So you just don't allow yourself to be caught up in any form of controversy over it. It's just let it be. If somebody wants to call you a boomer for your ideologies, yes, your ideologies may be old. Just get over it and move on with the times. Sounds very familiar, huh? Anyway, I'm just gonna skate out. It's nice talking to y'all. I just really had to get that off my chest. And I want to say this is the first of many episodes for the Off the Rip podcast that I will be doing frequently now. I'm not gonna, bold what, I ain't gonna come out and say I'm gonna do it every week. I'm gonna do it frequently and make sure that I upload on time every time. I will flesh out the details later, but if you want to join, I'll leave my Discord linked in the description so you can come on and join the conversation. I will be actively on there from time to time. I haven't really, it's just me kind of running it. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, I will link that. That's going to be in the video, how I do. It's going to be in the video, so you can go ahead and not subscribe, but go ahead and follow your boy over there on Instagram. And with that, man, I am out of here. I'm just out. I'm just done. I'm just done. See y'all later. Peace, love, and everything in between. Peace.